back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Barbell Benders podcast. We had to take a week off last week. I've been down sick. We had some technical difficulties, but we're back this week to finish out the Fixing Your Lift series. And, of course, we've already done squat and bench, so that only leaves deadlift for us. But before we hop in, Altman, how you been doing, man?
Dude, I've been good. Competed Saturday. Hit some pretty good numbers. So pretty excited for it. About a hit. But after the meet, dude, I was wiped, dude. I've never hurt that bad after a meet. I took a more of a 2-week deload before this meet, or like just a 2-week taper this time. So maybe that was part of it. Why I was pretty sore this past week because I didn't really train super hard the 2 weeks leading up to it. But it was rough. It was rough, man. These past couple of days have been tough. Definitely been feeling it.
Do you think that 2-week taper instead of like a 7 or 10-day taper, do you think it benefited you more or it hurt you more?
For squat and deadlift, that was fine. The bench was the one that didn't go as planned. So I think I took too long of a taper for bench, but that just lets me know better for next time. I'll probably just stick to the week right now for bench. But squat and deadlift felt great. I didn't even deadlift for 2 weeks before the meet. I didn't deadlift at all. I just squatted. And squats felt great. I could have gone up in weight. I feel like I could have. And then deadlifts were great also. Hit what I wanted to hit.
For the bench, do you feel like it was the technical proficiency that you lacked, or did you feel like you lost a little bit of strength in that 2 weeks?
Honestly, it probably was a little bit of technical, and I made a pretty big jump. I went from 300 to 314, which that shouldn't have been that big of a jump, but maybe I did lose a little bit of strength. And I just didn't have the motor pattern like it should have. But I didn't take the 2 weeks off completely from bench. I went up to 80% for the first week of the taper, and then down just to 50% for the second week. So I'm not really too sure what happened. Maybe because I didn't have enough food. There are a lot of factors that could have played into it. But this next meet, I'm going to just do a week for the bench and see what happens there.
I got you. Well, every time you compete, you learn a little bit about the process going into it. So hopefully next time you compete, it'll be a little bit more refined.
Yeah, dude, that's the best part. That's like the past 3 meets for me have been just like an entire learning, and I've gotten fourth at all 3 of those meets, and this is the first one I got second at. So I was pretty excited. I was like, yes, I'm finally making progress. So I was pretty
Nice,
happy.
man.
I was pretty happy about that one. But what about you, Seth? I know you've been coming off of not really like an injury, but just some sickly matters.
Yeah, man, these last 3 weeks have been pretty terrible for lifting, especially since I got Nats coming up. Um, we talked about last time on the episode, I had my appendix out. And then, like, a week after that, I came down with another bad sickness. I mean, just like all the symptoms you could imagine just put me out. Ended up being tonsillitis, and it took me probably like 5 or 6 days to get over that with antibiotics. And it's weird because I went back to my surgeon and did my surgery, and he checked up on me and told me I was a little bit constipated. I told him about my symptoms for that I was feeling sick from, and you know what he told me?
What?
He said, "Well, man, you basically just gotta suck it up." I was like, "Dang, man, all right, I see how it is."
Well, you know,
But
most doctors would be like, they would give you some, like, I don't know, some explanation, but he would just hold it to you straight. You gotta kind of respect that. He's like a coach.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he gave it to me straight, and that's really all I had to do was I just really had to suck it up. But what's weird is from before my surgery to when I had like fully recovered from being sick, I had lost like 15 pounds.
Oh wow.
And I mean, obviously the surgery took like 7 out of me, and my appetite was decreased a little bit from after that, like, but I was still eating like, decent meals. But then when I got sick, man, it was like I could barely scarf down like 2 granola bars in the morning, and then, in the evening, like a half or less than half a can of chicken soup.
Oh man,
Like
dude.
I was probably getting like 700 calories a day, if that.
Wow. So you just didn't have an appetite at all.
Yeah, no appetite whatsoever. Like nothing at all sounded good to eat.
Hmm. Usually, like, dude, I've had the same thing happen. And if I got, like, before the meet, I was actually a little bit sick. I think just the peaking was taking out of me. And I just had to force myself to eat. I was like, all right, 3 hours. I set a timer for every 3 hours just to make sure I just maintained my weight because I knew that so overtrained and just getting sick and everything, appetite was gone. Maybe not as bad as yours, but that's crazy, man.
And what's even crazier is the like percentage chances of these sicknesses. So having appendicitis, that's like 1 in 20 people a year,
Okay.
which is 5%. And then tonsillitis, that's 2% of people go to the doctor for it every year. So the chances of getting both these sicknesses within 2 weeks of each other is so small, and it managed to happen to me like 2 weeks out from nationals, which is just sucks.
Yeah, dude.
But
Life's trying to kick you down, man. But you're going to be like, hell nah.
yeah, I mean too. I finally hit one little workout at the end of last week, and that was rough. My muscles were sore for a couple of days after that, but hopefully I can get back into it pretty quickly, and get back up to where I was before the surgery, and then get back into gear because time's a ticking. And that's is like a month and a half away.
Yeah, dude. Dude, this year's been pretty rough for you. This past year.
Yeah, it's not been the greatest.
But you know when what goes down must come up.
Hey, that's right.
You can only go up from here. You can't really go back
And
down.
I'm really just hoping to like just be able to compete at
Yeah,
nationals.
yeah.
If I can end up getting a touch with my bench shirt, that'd be great. I'm not looking to like podium or anything. That's not even within the realm of possibilities. But I don't want to have to drop out of it because COVID kind of screwed everybody last year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just want to be able to go to this one.
Yeah, yeah. And you'll get that experience too. You won't be as stressed at this one too because you know that you probably won't be able to make it to the podium, so you're not putting as much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot. And this is just like a general saying for people that go to compete. If you're super stressed about worrying like what place you're going to get, if you're trying to beat somebody or you're trying to get a certain total, I think that takes away from the meet experience. And just going in and hitting the numbers that you're able to hit that day and doing what you can and having fun and enjoying the environment, I think that really goes toward the whole experience of doing a meet.
Yeah, dude, I agree. For my first couple of meets were like that, but this meet, I'll be honest with you, I was a little competitive. There was a guy, we were pretty close, like really, we were hitting the same numbers, and I saw he went up to deadlift what I was up to, so I added 5 kilos to my deadlift just so I could beat him out. I was like, no,
Ah,
I'm gonna beat you. I'm not gonna, I ain't getting third place, third or fourth this time. I'm like, nah. So I play, but that again, like you said, that comes with the experience. Like the first couple of meets, I wouldn't have known to do that or been comfortable doing that. It's been like, nah, I'm just gonna hit what I came to hit, or just to have fun with it. But I feel like as you get older too, you kind of want to do kind of push those push those risks a little bit, try to compete, get that place a little bit as you become better within the sport.
yeah, I think for your first couple meets, the first two or three, just have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't stress too much about the little things because they'll if you stick with the sport long enough and you get good enough in it, there will be a time and place to worry about your placing and what your total is.
yeah, exactly. I saw this the other day actually. Um, there was a lifter that he was like, I'm not gonna settle for second place, and he's not the best lifter in the world, or even the greatest lifter like in the country. But he was like, I'm not gonna settle for second, which that's a great mindset to have. Don't get me wrong, but if you're not the best, if you're not just genetically gifted or anything, you're gonna have to get second one time. So
Yeah,
if let's say you get third one time, like then you get second. That's progression. If you're beating yourself up because you got one place better, but you didn't get first, then you're seeing it all wrong. Like take the wins, but you still be hungry.
yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
But speaking of meets and lifting and powerlifting, what are we doing today, Seth?
Yeah, we're finishing out this fixing your lift series with deadlift, and I was kind of thinking about it earlier how I kind of wanted to attack this. And with squat we started with the feet, with bench we started with the hands. And I think deadlift is a lot like the squat. When someone first starts deadlifting, or you're looking at somebody to critique their technique, I think you start at the feet.
Yep.
Like if you bring someone up to the bar for the first time, you got to get their stance right. So I'm more of a sumo puller. You're more of a conventional guy. So I think we can kind of take both of those two and compare and contrast those. So for sumo, it's um, it's really just whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, obviously you're gonna have a wide foot stance, and depending on your leverages and your height and the length of from your hip to your feet is going to kind of depend on where your feet settle. But I think someone should just start by putting their shins on the little rings towards the outside. Start from there, and then it's when someone first starts pulling sumo, you're gonna feel a lot of tension and pressure in your hamstrings because you're just not used to using those muscles that way. If you're used to pulling conventional, you just don't have a lot of experience deadlifting. Period. Um, so just yeah, put your feet. I'd say on the rings. Start with your feet at probably like a 45-degree angle. And then if you have long legs like I do and long feet, just kind of watch out when you're bringing the bar down that you don't smash your toes. So what would you say to someone if they wanted to start pulling conventional about the foot placement?
I like the cue to where act like you're about to jump, like your vertical jump. That's kind of like a good starting place to put your feet. And um, and guy Mark Ripto, he's been kind of like the guy that I follow for just the basics, the basic movements. Just a great way to teach beginners. And but his cueing is as you'll find with most coaches and good coaches, the cueing is get your the bar about an inch away from your shin, so about over your midfoot. If you're wearing shoes, right over the shoelace, right over the shoelaces, where the shoelaces are tied. That should get you about an inch away from the bar, and really push your hips back first, because both these movements, the sumo and the conventional, are both a deadlift's a hinge movement to start out with. It's not a squat, so you're going to be using, like Seth said, your hamstrings more. So you want to push your hips back. Then, as you come down to the bar, when your shins touch the bar, you stop moving, and then the rest of it is just you by pushing your hips back a little bit more, and then just coming down, grabbing it, and picking it up. That's really just the basis of just the start for the sumo. I mean, for the conventional deadlift. Um, just making sure, just seeing what technique you like. I'm a little bit more narrow on my conventional, which I might go a little bit wider just so I can get my back a little bit straighter. Um, I do feel really strong, pretty narrow, but that's just my take on it. So yeah, pretty simple there.
Yeah. So I guess as we move up from the foot placement, we kind of move to the hips and the lumbar spine, the lower back. And I guess this can kind of go for both conventional and sumo. It like you said, it is a hip hinge movement, and it's going to take a while for somebody to figure out how to use their hips correctly in the deadlift. I mean, I'm still figuring it out. It's it can be kind of complicated to figure out how to use them the right way and use all the muscles within the hips. The glutes, the abductors, the adductors, using all those to your advantage to help with the hip hinge movement. Um, but I'd say for the most part, once you get your feet set and you reach down to the bar, you want to kind of push your knees out and open your hips up as much as you can. So getting your pelvis as close to the bar as you can. And with that, of course, you always want to have a neutral spine, as much as you can get it. And now people argue about this all the time about how much spinal flexion is okay. And I'd say a little bit of upper back rounding is okay, but when the lower back starts to round, that's when you need to be careful.
Agreed. Agreed. So, yeah, I would 100% agree with you there. Got to strengthen everything, figure out what you need to use. Um, One of the things I think that's helped my deadlift a lot is, like you said, pushing the hips through, especially a lot earlier in the deadlift, to where you decrease the range of motion. Instead of pulling it makes it to where you don't pull with your back as much. You use more of your glutes and pushing your glutes through. I would agree with you with the back. I'm gonna say I'm not someone that has a super straight back when I deadlift, especially my upper back. I never really have. I've even had like strength coaches look at it, like D1 strength coaches look at it. They're like, "Huh, that's weird. Does it hurt you or anything?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't bother me at all." They're like, maybe that's just you. Maybe that's just how you're built." Even Seth, you've seen it some too. I'm definitely still going to try to work on it though, because maybe I can take a little bit of that, because I do. You do lose a little bit of energy when your back isn't completely straight. Um, but it hasn't really hurt me so far. But we'll see what happens in the long term. That's what I'm more curious about. So we went over the strengthening all the little things, learning how to push your hips through, and the back. So I have seen some people like their low back is round instead of their upper back, which that's something that you do need to be considerate of, and I think that comes down to bracing, honestly. And yeah, I think that comes down to bracing, just learning how to actually use a belt. A lot of people just put a belt on and have no idea how to use it. They say, "Yo, yeah, I put a belt on." I'm like, "Okay, do you know how to brace?" They're like, "What's bracing?" Um, and just like they're like, "Oh, I thought the belt was just put it on, then you lift more." No, that's not really how it works. The belt's a tool to use, so you can lift more. It doesn't make you lift more. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on that part.
Yeah, bracing is another thing that I think is a constant battle to perfect.
Yeah,
Like, I think everybody is probably working on their bracing. I for sure still am. Really, really just like consistent bracing. I mean, I've got like the basics down with it and how to feel the feel the abdomen and push the obliques out with the pressure. Um, but really, just fine tuning that. Um, but I think as we move up, we can talk about the lats and the
yes.
shoulders.
You're the most underrated muscle in your opinion, the lats.
It is. I love me some lat pull downs and lat push downs. I like those too.
So like the ones where you have straight arm and then come down.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think if they're done right and when you get to the top, you completely stretch out the lat and you really bring it down and press the bar against you as hard as you can. I think if they're done right, they can be really beneficial, um, especially in conjunction with like some lat pull downs.
Okay.
But anyway, that's a little tangent. Um, so for the sumo, um, using the lats, it's kind of like the bench, like we talked about, not just tightening them and pulling them back, but also pulling them back and down.
Yeah.
Because as you tighten those, another thing you want to think about is keeping your arms as long as possible. Because I've been having the problem when I'm not pulling hook, when I just do mixed, that the bar isn't coming off the ground quick enough, so I'll start to bend my arms,
Hmm.
and as we both know, that can lead to a bicep tear
Yeah.
and bicep tendonitis. So pulling hook helps that a little bit for me, mainly because both my arms are straight. I mean, and yeah, both overhand. But just thinking about tightening your lats in and downward helps me.
Okay. I dig it. Mine's exactly the same thing. I just press my arms down as hard as I can. That's where I feel the lats tighten. Trying to like you can think about trying to put your armpit in your back pocket, or just pressing down as hard as you can. That's just what I do, and I feel like it works pretty well. So yeah, that's basically said the exact same thing I was going to say.
I think doing that can also help somebody's help somebody have a neutral spine
Oh yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
when you have like proper lat tension.
Yeah, lats are anti-rotators. They're stability muscle for your spine. That's the main job of the lats, to stabilize your spine,
Yeah.
especially when
So
lifting heavy weights.
what are your thoughts on double overhand mixed grip?
Wait. Oh, okay. Um, I think whatever allows you to lift the most weight without causing injury. If you're someone that likes mixed grip, shoot, do mixed grip. I'm probably gonna try a hook grip next just to see what if that does makes any difference. I've never really tried it before. Well, I've tried it once. I did it with one meet. But I haven't trained it in a while, so I'm curious to see what happens there. But whatever allows you to train more, I think you can mitigate the risk of a bicep tear by fully locking your arms out. I know Seth mentioned that when it doesn't come off the floor fast enough, that his arms kind of bend. Um, that is definitely a problem for a lot of lifters, and you don't want that to happen because that again, as you see, a lot of guys who tear their biceps. And Seth, actually, at this last meet, there was a guy who tore his bicep.
Really?
He was a deadlift only guy, really short, probably weighed 130 to 140 pounds at most. But he pulled his bicep. He pulled like 600 pounds, I think, though. So
Yeah.
pretty impressive deadlift for such a little guy. But he did the deadlift only meet.
And sometimes it's just to like mitigate me bending my arm. Sometimes I just have to actually focus on it.
Yeah.
Like when I'm pulling mixed grip, that's just one of the mental cues. I just have to keep it the forefront of my mind and really focus on to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yes. Um,
But
honestly, for me, I don't think I've really ever had the problem like that. I've usually kept my arms pretty straight. Um, I just press them down as hard as I can. That's what I'm thinking about. Whenever I press my lats down, I do
yeah,
the same thing with my arms. Just press them down as hard as I can.
yeah, I think hook grip is interesting. I think everybody should try it at least once. It's like for me, I have pretty big hands, so getting my thumb in the right spot and actually wrapping my middle finger around my thumb is not a problem. It's just sometimes it's a problem on like how much because I noticed that when I like fully put my middle finger around my thumb, that's when I feel like my thumb is about to be crushed under the bar. But when I just do like the tip of the middle finger over my thumbnail, that's when it feels a lot better.
Okay. So okay, I see what you're saying.
So like if you're wanting to get into hook grip, just watch a couple of different videos on it, and then try different techniques that people say. There's plenty of different cues on it. I I wrap my thumbs. One layer of wrapping around it is legal in the IPF, so you know if it's legal, why not use it to your advantage?
And I feel like it can allow you to get a little bit more arm length out of your hands.
Yeah,
It's
it most definitely.
like might not be like a lot, but it can make it probably if you're one of those lifters that you need that just a little bit extra, it can maybe make or break you. So yeah, interesting. I'm playing around with it right now. I'm thinking about a bar and squeezing it. Yeah, you always see Jamal Browner like when he gets done with a deadlift, he shakes his hands and looks at his thumb.
Yeah, when you first start trying, it's gonna hurt a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna be like, why does this hurt so much? But then as you keep, um, I really can't do more than like 3 reps at a time with it. So like the higher you go in weight, you'll notice like, oh man, I can do a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you get up close to, whatever your mixed grip PR is, and the things might start slipping and hurting a little more.
yeah. It's a lot of pressure on your thumb. A lot. I wonder how
Yeah,
healthy that is for the long term.
I don't really know.
I'd be curious to see what happens to people as they get older. What happens to your thumb?
It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, yeah. Research study.
So I was just thinking of a couple cues that might help someone that wants to get into sumo. One thing that's helped me a lot is instead of imagining picking the bar up, like literally keeping your everything from your belt up in one place and just pushing with your legs. Don't imagine picking the bar up. Imagine pushing the ground away from you and just trying to keep the same position from your belt up, your arms, lats, everything in one spot. And One thing that I'll warn people about because it's bit me in the butt a couple times, especially when I got hurt last year, is when you lock your knees out in the sumo. I see a lot of people they'll lock their knees out like when the bar is right before it passes the knees or like as it's passing,
Hmm.
and you got to be careful with that because the sooner you lock your knees out, the sooner you're going to put more pressure on your lower back.
Yep.
And that's what screwed me last year. Is like I literally locked my knees too soon. Um, so I try to make the movement. I try to lock my knees until the bar is right above them, like after I passed it.
Hmm.
Um, it makes the movement a little bit more snappy too, and you can kind of imagine it in two parts. As when you're bringing the bar up, as soon as it passes, lock your knees and finish with your hips.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying.
So those are just a couple cues that I had that I remembered.
Um, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. Like, I just picked the bar up. I don't have any like special cues that are going through my head. I've just learned to get the hips through fast. I'm looking at it right now. I've just learned to get the hips through faster over time. But I will say that a lift that has helped me do that is a trap bar deadlift. Um, I've I think the reason behind that is one, it gets me to push through the ground instead of pulling because since it's more of a, I guess you could call it like a more of a quad dominant exercise. It's getting me to push through the ground more, and I can use a lot heavier weight, so I'm already overloading my body, so my body's used to that heavy weight already. And then, thirdly, it's teaching me to push my hips through sooner. Like when I do the trap bar deadlift, I might push the ground first, but then as soon as I get off the ground, I'm already pushing my hips through. Cause that's how you should stand up with it. By using that big old thing in the back of on the back of your body, called your ass, and you just push through with that. That's helped me a lot. And same thing with deficit deadlifts. Deficit deadlifts have helped a ton with getting me to push through the ground because I suck off the ground. That's the part that I'm not that good at. Probably because I just need to get my quads stronger. That's probably just the simplified reason. Stronger quads. But once I get off the ground, I'm golden because I think it's because I've learned to one. I have a pretty dominant, I would say, posterior chain, evident to my 520 deadlift versus my 440 squat. My deadlift's almost 100 pounds more than my squat. Um, and I think I can show that it's have stronger hand. I'm a much better hip extensor than I am a knee flexion kind of guy. And I think that just comes down to being able to flex my knees more and push to the ground and more quad development.
So I want to ask you in the last episode we did because it's been 2 weeks. What did you say you were going to open at the meet?
I open at 500,
Okay, and what did you end up pulling?
520.
Okay, how did that opener feel?
It felt heavy, but it felt good too. Um, I probably should have taken a little bit lighter opener, but honestly, I just wanted to.
Isn't that what I said in
Yeah,
the
it is, but
podcast?
I was being stubborn and I wanted to try it out for myself. And but I actually really did like it. Honestly, I took smaller jumps this meet, a lot smaller jumps, and that seemed to work pretty well for everything. Squat went great. Deadlift, I think I could have gotten more on deadlift. I think I had a few little extra pounds in there that I could have pushed for. But I lived and I learned from that experience.
So, what was your warm ups like for deadlift?
Just singles. So 135, I think I hit that for three singles, and then 225 single, well, probably two singles there. 315, one to two singles, then 405 for two singles, then 500.
So you go straight from 405 to 500?
Yeah, I don't like to take that 455. I'm more confident. For me, 500 feels lighter than 455. I don't know why. I think it's a mental thing. I think 455 is heavy for some reason. 500 seems more fun to me.
I see.
I think it's just
I
more of a
th
mental aspect to it.
I think it just depends on how I'm feeling that day. Like, I think the last opener I took was like 512, 515, something like that. And from 405 to 515, a lot can happen in between that. So usually I like to take my last warm up at like 455.
Okay.
But it depends on how I'm feeling. I really won't go above that for warm ups.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I also think it has to do with your nervous system, just how primed you are. And we had just done 6 lifts that day, 6 maximal lifts. So my nervous system was pretty primed to lift something heavy. So there's no reason to me trying to fatigue myself. And usually when I'm ready to deadlift, my body's ready to deadlift. I don't have to. I just have to warm up the central nervous system. There's no point in me doing a bunch of reps and everything. There were some girls in the warm up room when they were about to do it. They were doing a bunch of reps. I'm like, you're just tiring yourself out on that one. There's no point in doing that. Um, but I usually see like a lot of people do a lot of reps with like for warm ups, which I mean, if you want to lift maximal amounts of weight, it's not about like yeah, you need to be warmed up. For, your muscles need to be warmed up, of course, but it's more about how primed are you to lift that weight. It's about priming your body to lift maximal amounts of weight, not necessarily warming your muscles up a ton, because that can kind of pre-fatigue you.
Yeah, I agree. And this goes with like a meet environment and just training in the gym. And a lot of people will probably disagree with this, but I don't count warm up reps. Like I don't count like one, two, three,
Yeah,
4, 5. Like I just do it by feel.
yeah, that's how it
I
should be.
don't I don't think you should have to do like, you know, 135 for 10 and then 225 for 8. Like, if you don't need to do that many reps, why would you do that and then take away from your actual working sets?
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree. Um, yeah, just go how you feel. Usually for deadlifts, I'll just do singles. I don't really feel a need to do multiple reps. My deadlift is, I mean, I've hit big numbers, pretty decent numbers on deadlift, so I'm not going to really change anything on that one. For bench, I might go a little bit more because bench is more of a slow twitch fiber muscle group, so it can take a little bit more volume, and that's just what's needed to get that one up. But I'll do this squat the same way as I'll do the deadlift, just a little bit more, just singles.
Yeah, so while we're on the topic of warm ups, do you follow Elite FTS on Instagram?
Yes.
So they posted something a couple weeks ago, and it was warm up do's and don'ts. And on one column they have yes, and one column they have no. And it doesn't really matter what lift this is for, but on the no column, it has 135 for 5, 185 for 3, 225 for 1, and then working sets of 235 for a 3 by 5. Okay, on the yes column for warm ups, it has 45 for 5, 95 for 5, 115 for 5, 135 for 5, 155 for 5, 175 for 5, 195 for 5, 215 for 5, and then your working sets of 235 for 3 by 5. So on the yes column, they had like 40 reps for warm up,
Yeah.
and their reasoning is more warm up sets equal more technically perfect reps plus more volume.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, they're right. Yeah, that's a way to do it. Like Matt Winning does the 4 sets of 25 before a workout. That's the way he gets in technically and just a way to build muscle. Um, is it necessary? Maybe not. There are different ways to do it. You can prime yourself in different ways. One way that I like to do it is with like using a med ball or doing jumps. Usually, if you go and do like play basketball before a workout and you're jumping up trying to dunk and everything, and then you go and try to do a deadlift, you're going to find that deadlift feels a lot better because you've primed yourself by jumping, by doing this almost the exact same move. You primed your hamstrings, your glutes, and everything. You're getting that triple extension, which is the exact same thing as a deadlift, just to get into that hip extension. And same thing for squats. Majority of people's squat stances are their vertical jump stances, or when they come down to land, that's kind of like what their squat stance is. Um, you're just getting in the most powerful position and just press and pushing as hard as you can off that, and that's going to really. I can't believe I'm saying this over and over, but prime that nervous system to perform as good as you can. Use those motor units effectively. But I don't see anything wrong with the way Elite FTS likes to do it. Or if that's what they posted. There's nothing. There's just one way to do it.
Yeah, it is a way to do it. In my opinion, though, I don't think I don't think taking 10-pound jumps is necessary.
Yeah.
Um, and doing 40 warm up reps.
Yeah, I will say this too, and that's going to depend greatly on the lifter.
Yeah,
Massively. Like if it's a young lifter, then yeah, they can do that. If it's someone that can squat 800 pounds, yeah, it's going to have to be a plate and everything. Like look at Julius Maddox when he goes for gets ready to bench. He's going to do like a warm up, of course, but when he's benching, he's just going to add a plate on at a time.
yeah,
He's not going to take the
yeah.
time to take 10-pound jumps. But for a beginner or someone that's not as strong, like maybe me and you for bench, like I'll take those little small. I'll take those small. I'll do a 45-pound bar, then a 95, then 135, then 185, then 225, then 255, something like that. Just because I'm not as strong on that as I am on my squat and deadlift.
Yeah, I think it is lifter dependent. Um, but for me, it just doesn't make sense to. I think the way they put it, it made it sound like that's how everybody should warm up, and
Yeah,
that if you're not doing that many warm up sets, then you're wrong. But for me personally, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that many reps because I'm still along the logic of why do more than you need to for warm ups to take away from your working sets.
yeah. Once you and that's not what. And Dave Tate talks about warm ups too. What he does is he just gives the lifters a list of exercises to do, and they do perform that circuit until they feel warm. And once they feel warm, good. Let's get under the bar.
Yeah,
Kind of like what you were talking about.
and yeah, and it is going to make a difference on like how high the lifter has to go. Like obviously, if it's a 90% squat day and I'm in full gear, I'm going to need more warm up reps and sets than if it's just like a regular squat day, no gear,
Yeah.
like a 3x3, you know. So for Julius Maddox, the man is working up to 700 plus bench. He's got to do his 30-minute accessory warm up, and then he's the bar, a plate, two plate, three plate, four plate, five plate, six plate, seven plate.
Yep. So it's if he did those 10, 20-pound jumps, it would take him years to get through a bench session, and he'd be fatigued by
and
the time he got there.
and I also guarantee you that he's not doing sets of five for every warm up set.
No, 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 no.
When he gets up to probably
400,
half of
500.
what he's gonna bench for that day, he's probably only doing singles. And I know for a fact he's only doing singles because I've watched some of his videos
Yep, yep. But you know what he's doing now though? He's doing the winning warm up though.
with the longer accessory warm up.
Yeah, like just going through circuits, just getting the body warm. But he does have it to where if he's going to do a big bench day, he cuts down less on that. He might do 1 to 2 sets for the warm up. But if he's doing like a lighter bench day, he'll do more warm up so he can get a little bit more volume in.
Yeah, I mean, it works for the big man, so
It does work for the big man. That's correct. But dude, did you see that 771 he did?
I did. That was crazy.
Dude,
That flew too.
it did. That was a fast bench. If I wish it didn't hit the pegs on the bench, but dude, yeah, it was quick.
I
He,
don't know about you, but I wouldn't feel very confident spotting somebody benching 770.
oh yeah, because let's say this like in the CSCS book, the extra essentials of strength conditioning. It's kind of like the staple for strength coaches, and you have to take a test to become a strength coach and everything. But one of the things they have in there is don't spot anyone that's stronger than you. You have to be equal strength. Well, when you're Julius Maddox, nobody's going to be as strong as you. So you just have to kind of
Yeah.
get what you got. So you got good old Bilbo Swaggins up there, John Hack, with his arms that just came out of nowhere, spotting him with Big Boy beside him, and then their mutual friend. I don't know his name, but all strong guys. But yes, I would definitely feel the same way as you, Seth.
Yeah. So what are your goals for the next meet you do?
Um, well, I would like I'd like to add 30 to 40 pounds to everything. That's the goal. So did 302 bench this time. So I want to do 330. No, yeah, about 330 bench this time, and then a five, and then a 470 to 480 squat, and then a 5 50 to 560 deadlift. So nothing super crazy. Just gonna put in the time, do what I did last time. I'm just doing a bunch of bodybuilding work right now because that's just what I want to do. Just want to take a break from the movements, and because my body's primed for growth right now, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. And so yeah, that's basically the plan.
So you're graduating in May, right?
Yes.
So you won't be able to do collegiates, but you'll still be able to just compete in like junior meets.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really like to do junior meets, honestly, dude. I like to just compete in open. If I'm going to compete, I'm going to compete in the open. I'm not going to single myself out as a junior.
Okay, so you'll still be able to do like Jeff's meets.
Yeah, I'll probably still be here at Mississippi State, Seth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got some things that are kind of lining up right now. So we'll see what happens there.
Ah, okay. Nice, nice.
But what about you, Seth? What are your goals for Nats?
Honestly, they've changed since, before the surgery,
Hmm.
and I got sick, and uh I'd say at this moment it's kind of the same goals I had for the last meet. Like
Okay.
if I can just match what I did the last meet, I'll be happy. And of course, those goals were different before all that happened.
Hmm.
Um, but it'll really be dependent on what this next month looks like in training and getting back in the year. So, we'll see. I can't really get too specific on it
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't know how this next month will go.
I guess we'll find out in one of the other episodes closer to time.
Yeah, we will.
Never
Oh,
know.
that'll be a fun episode
Oh yeah.
after Nats.
Oh
We'll have
dude.
to get Caleb and Josh on.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't know if Josh is competing.
He said he is.
He also said he hasn't registered yet.
Ah, well,
You'll have to talk to him about that one. You have to get you and your other brothers to get him.
yeah, I'll have to talk to Josh about that because he needs to compete.
Dude, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be strong.
But anything else you want to add?
Yeah, let's talk about just some accessories to build up like a sumo deadlift and a conventional real quick. Just some so you can get a stronger deadlift.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
So
Go ahead, start us out.
so first of all, if you want to get a better deadlift, you're gonna have to deadlift. Um, that's just a simple plain and fact. If you're a beginner and you've never deadlifted, don't try putting like stiff-legged deadlifts, RDLs, and everything in there yet. I said yet, because one, you don't know how to deadlift. So, what's the point of doing that? Now, I do think that could be good teaching tools to teach the deadlift, but let's just focus on deadlifting first. And then after that, then we'll find what your weaknesses are. If your weaknesses are off the floor, you can do some deficit deadlifts. If you've got a weak upper back, snatch grip deadlifts, or really long deficit deadlifts. Or if you're strong off the floor but weak towards the middle, we can do some block pulls. Block pulls preferably over rack pulls, mainly because it's more specific to the exercise. Um, and then you can do some GHR, so glute ham raises, which is great for building the top part of the deadlift. A lot of hamstring work, a lot of glute work. Well, not really glute work. You'll just be getting the glute work as you deadlift in through the glute ham raises. And, of course, building up the upper back. So I would say a lot of band pull aparts, a lot of rows. Farmer carries are a massive one for me. I love farmer carries. They're fantastic for building up the squat and the deadlift. So that's kind of it for me. Those are my top accessory movements. Right, what are some like good accessories for the sumo deadlift?
I think you hit on a lot of them right there. One thing I would say, good accessories is trying to strengthen the hips. So things like hip airplanes are more for mobility, but single leg RDLs are kind of along the same line, but still able to strengthen your glutes and hamstrings.
Hmm.
Um, so I just like to take a kettlebell and lean forward on one leg and bring it back up. So single leg RDLs, getting on the good girl, bad girl machines,
Oh yeah.
where you work on your adductors and abductors, And I could never remember the difference in those until I went to the physical therapist. And your adductors are the ones that bring your legs together.
Yep.
So think of like when your legs are wide at an angle, you're bringing them together and adding them.
Yep.
So adductors bring them together, abductors bring them apart. Those are the ones on the outside of your hips. So any strength in the hips will always benefit your sumo squat or sumo deadlift and your squat as well. And then, of course, anything strengthening the lats, the upper back, the posterior chain, like Altman said, farmer carries, carrying something under load. Um, I like to do grip work personally because I don't want grip to ever be the deciding factor on if I can't get a deadlift up.
Yep.
Like I hate to imagine that the rest of my body is strong enough to get X amount of weight up to lockout, and then my 10 fingers can't hold on to it.
10 fingers. Yeah.
So I like to do grip work. I got a little circuit I do where I'll just like pinch a 35 and walk back and forth with it. Um, and you can also think about as you pinch those, keeping your torso straight, keeping your lats tight, everything up tight. You know, it's kind of like a former carry walking under load, just not as much as load. And then I'll like superset that with carrying the kettlebells with just like 3 fingers, like my longest 3 fingers. Because if you think about it, on a deadlift, if it starts slipping, really your pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger are likely your longest fingers. So those are going to be the last things to hold onto the bar. So I'll just do like heavy kettlebell walks with just like 3 fingers and superset that with like plate pinch grips.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll do like weighted holds on the pull up bar. So just stuff like that, strengthen the hips, and then Altman pretty much hit everything else.
I have a question though. Would at a sumo deadlifter, would you do deficit deadlifts?
It depends on if I'm weak at the bottom. Like I've been pretty weak in the bottom. That is my weak spot, and I think pause deadlifts are more beneficial and
Okay.
specific to a sumo deadlift. For one, because you're still doing the same height of the movement, but pausing in the bottom puts more stress in the bottom of the movement, and it makes you spend more time in the bottom to get more comfortable in it. Um, so that can I think that can kind of benefit more if you're struggling in the bottom than doing deficits.
Okay. Cool. That's one thing I'd like to try out. I've never done deficit dead. I mean, I've done pause deadlifts. I think once, like when Dylan was training us back in the day for powerlifting freshman year. But I've never really put them in there since. I think it'd be a good exercise to do, especially if you want to kind of gain muscle in your upper back. 'Cause it got a lot of time under tension there.
Yeah, it definitely strengthens your the bottom part of the sumo deadlift,
Hmm.
and it'll also make you realize how strong your lockout is. Because
Okay.
like after you pause in the bottom, you want to get it up as quick as possible. So you're gonna realize how strong your lockout is.
I have a question.
But I wouldn't say they're fun. They're definitely a pain to do, but they work. You know, results speak for themselves.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So I know we see those people on Instagram. Like, I think I saw Garrett Fear the other day. Now, don't get he's a great deadlifter. He can deadlift a lot of weight. But like I see some people like they do like really short, like they say it's a pause deadlift, but it's like split second pause. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, while you're doing the pauses, it can be hard to ensure that you're getting an actual pause. Like for a long time when I first started doing them, like I wouldn't actually pause. I would just kind of slow down from the floor
Okay,
to
okay.
like the top of my shins. And you just really, really have to focus on actually stopping the bar in the bottom part. I don't know. I mean, I guess any pause is better than none, but getting like at least a 2 second pause.
Okay. So it's not like super long.
Yeah, I mean, you can do
Okay.
long pauses just to, you know, strut around and show how strong you are. But, I think really like 2 to 3 seconds is optimal.
Okay. That's sounds about right. Cool. I just want to see what, because I know I've seen a lot of people do the pause deadlifts, but they don't look like pause deadlifts. Same thing with like pause benches. You see people that are like, yeah, this is the pause benches. And you're like, okay, that was just like it came down to your chest, and you didn't bounce it, but you didn't pause it either.
Yeah, I think people like to throw that pause word in there and
Yeah,
showboat a little bit.
dude. Oh yeah, I want to be honest with you, man. At this last meet, that woman, it seemed like forever that she had us down there in the bottom. I needed to train my pause bench a lot better than I did leading up to that meet. If I did, I
And
think
I
I would have been a lot better off.
and I think what a lot of people don't understand is like the head judge's job is not to make you pause for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
Their job is to make you pause until the bar is still.
yeah,
And whether they actually hold to that rule or whether they just, count to three in their head or something, I don't know.
yeah.
But
And as a lifter, the time seems longer than you think. So
oh
I'm
yeah.
looking at the video now, and I've looked at it a couple of times. I'm like, wow, she actually didn't hold us down there for that long. Like it was just a, well, she didn't hold me down there for that long. Like it comes down, it's there for like 1, 2, and then up. So it's only like a 2 second count. But if you don't train it, then you're kind of like, oh, that was a lot longer than I thought. So I think it's good to
Yeah.
have like a
So
training partner there that can keep you accountable. Like I think when Dylan was bench pressing a couple of weeks ago, I was there counting 1, 2, 3, then up because he wanted to come up a little bit faster.
yeah, it's time moves differently when you're under the bar.
It definitely, that's for sure. That's for sure. It's like when you're doing a lift or a squat, and it might seem like, oh, dude, that took forever. But you look at the video, it's like, oh, that was it. That looked fast. That looked really fast.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
So, but yeah, that's about all I got for that one.
Yeah, me too. I think that was a nice little way to wrap up our series. Um, I kind of like doing this little series type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Y'all let us know if you what other series you would like to hear.
And we apologize for not posting last week. Um, we tried to let that happen. Sometimes things happen though, but we'll be more consistent about it from now on every week.
Oh, wait, we've only
I,
missed we've done 25. This is the 25th episode, so we've done half a year and only missed 2 weeks. We're doing pretty good.
and one was for Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine there were a lot of people that were bummed about it though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, in Christmas time is time you should be spending with your family.
Yeah, I mean for this last week.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Good news is we have a lot of good content. We have a lot of stuff you can go back
Yeah.
and listen to. But it is Valentine's Day, Seth, so happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Altman. This will be coming out. This will be coming out tomorrow. So, I hope anybody that took part in Valentine's Day had a good one. If you didn't, I hope you had a good lift. If
If you
not,
didn't-
then there's always next year.
I like how you just assume that everybody went to go lift instead of. Yes, because
I mean, I didn't lift today because the weather's bad here.
yeah,
But there's always next year for Valentine's Day.
you're right. You are. But the gym is all going to be our Valentine's Day for the rest of. I could speak for myself the rest of my life, probably.
The
It,
gym will always be there
it's
for you.
always there for you. It doesn't leave you. It doesn't. It's not mean to you. Um, it doesn't like go off and hang with other people.
It's always
It's
there.
always there, without a doubt.
But yeah. So where can people find you on Instagram, Altman? Go ahead
Uh,
and plug that.
you guys can find me at Big Strength.
Yep. Check out his meet recap from the last meet he did. You can find me at Seth.Todd76. Check out our Instagram at triple.b.podcast. New episodes every Monday. We've got some pretty cool guests coming on here soon. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you guys next week.